I'm Scott Munn along with Tug Coward in the Warrior Alliance Network Studios in Atlanta, Georgia. Today, the spotlight is on veteran family finances. We'll meet Tara Alderete, Director of Enterprise Learning at Money Management International, or MMI. Tara creates education programs to benefit communities served by MMI, including a ton of military service members and veterans through special partnership with the Warrior Alliance. Based here in Atlanta, you've seen or heard Tara on Fox Business Channel or Fox 5 Atlanta and a lot of other media outlets, and now she joins us here on the network. She's also presented at the Hope Global Forum, Georgia FBLA State Leadership Conference, VEO Military Women's Empowerment Summit, and the Coast Guard Transition Assistance Program. Tara is an alumni of the University of New Mexico and holds a certificate in grant writing from the University of Georgia, along with many other financial certs. Tara knows what she's talking about when it comes to family finances, folks, so get ready to take some notes. The Director of Enterprise Learning at Money Management International, Tara Alderete, welcome to the Warrior Alliance Network.
Hey, thank you so much for having me.
Well, it is a pleasure, and I want to know where that passion for financial literacy comes from. You know, because it's something that I feel like has been talked about for years and years and years. We don't teach financial literacy in middle or high school, and kids go out and go to college, take out loans, and there's just all kinds of reasons that financial literacy is important. Where did you get the passion for it?
So I have to tell you, I agree with you. I feel like it's one of the things we should be talking about from the time we're this big, and we just don't, right? And I had, a pretty normal family, working class, blue collar family. And my parents were pretty good about educating us on finances, and my dad, specifically me, on the dangers of credit. And I can remember in college, I had a job at Citibank because we had tuition reimbursement. And one of the things that we had to do in this 8-week training class was go through a credit card, the consumer agreement, word by word, line by line.
Wow, nobody reads that.
Holy cow.
We all read it, right? It's training at Citibank. And I remember thinking, oh my goodness, I've been taught as much as I think I've been taught by my parents and, kind of learning. I was about 18 or 19 and I was shocked. And then when you combine that with just how unfair things can be for people, we really have this big gap in equity in our country. That's really sort of where it came from. And then veterans specifically, I don't have, I did not serve my father, but uncles, grandparents, we cover everybody. We've got Navy, we've got Marine Corps, we've got Army, we've got everybody. And, when I was at MMI or Credibility before we became MMI, I worked for somebody who transitioned out of the Army, and we were talking about those challenges. And so, all those things put together, I was like, these folks need some help. We all need some help, but these folks specifically. So that's sort of where all of this came from.
Yeah, it's funny because I remember being in the Navy and there was buy here, pay here lots lining the road before you got to the Navy base.
Yeah.
Specifically down in Mayport. I don't know if it's still that way in Mayport, Florida, which is there, close to Jacksonville, or in Jacksonville, right off Jacksonville. And I remember thinking then, I was like, those places look shady. I don't know that I would ever go there and buy
a lot
a car.
Of paycheck advance places and
right,
stuff.
Exactly.
They're kind of feeding off our guys.
That's exactly right. And so that's, as soon as I found out you're coming here, I was like, I flashed back to that immediately.
Yes. And it's so interesting. You can look at zip codes, right? Even here in Atlanta, between North and South Atlanta, and you can see the concentration of sort of, payday lenders and buy now, pay later and your paycheck folks, and then versus just reputable financial institutions, credit unions and banks, and how those are concentrated in areas based on economic status. And North Atlanta has more, banks and credit unions. South Atlanta is going to have more of those sort of predatory lenders. So it's interesting how they'll not only prey on
they'll prey on anybody,
but they're very strategic.
Yeah, no doubt about it. So tell me about money management and the services that y'all provide. Obviously education, but where does it start and where do you lead?
Oh my gosh. So the best thing I like to say about what we do is really it's any financial building block that you might need, right? So you would come to us first and foremost to get your budget right. And so this is tough for most people. we do education classes, and I will say, raise your hand if you have a budget-ish in place. And
a budget-ish.
Yeah, and less than half the people will put their hand up, And the truth is, most of us don't until something happens and we're forced to, and we don't know how. And so, the first service that we offer is really just that budgeting piece: income, expenses, action plans. Send out a budget to you. But then from there, we'll say, okay, it looks like debt may be a concern. We offer debt management plans. Are you thinking of filing bankruptcy? We can help you with that bankruptcy education, that you need pre and post discharge. Housing, we're a HUD intermediary, so, pre-purchase and foreclosure prevention, things like that. And then we also do things like disaster recovery through a Project Porch Light program that we have. And then specific groups that we serve: athletes, military. So really anything that you would need to get those foundational building blocks in place to achieve your financial goals and overcome obstacles is what we can help you with.
Love that.
So when veterans come to MMI for assistance, what kind of financial situations are they usually in?
So this is interesting. I pulled some numbers before this, and I knew that it was primarily debt assistance that veterans needed. I didn't know this much. So 77.5% of veterans that come to us because they're concerned about their debt load. So that's overwhelmingly the issue.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's a big number, man.
And how do they usually get there, do you think?
So, there's different challenges. What we see is about 1 in 6 folks that we counsel is military affiliated. And we will see that veterans come to us with about $34,000 in debt versus their civilian counterparts that come to us with about $28,000. So they have more debt, they have bigger debt concerns. And I think a lot of it is, when you transition out of service, there are changes, that your pay changes, your expenses change. But even when you're in service moving around, spouses have change in jobs. And, I think things like that really contribute
That's
to
what adds up.
Increasing debt.
So do you feel like you've been able to help veterans and their families? And do you have any great success stories you can share with us?
So many. So here's another interesting statistic.
Oh, great. Here we go. This is positive. I like that.
So of these folks that come to us for assistance, we were able to counsel over 17,000 military affiliated folks last year. I know.
Jeez.
Yeah. And about 30% of them went on debt management plans. And so debt management plans, if you're not aware, these are fantastic. And it's a way that you can knock out your debt in typically under 5 years. We don't really have many that go over 5 years. But we can reduce interest rates to around 6.5% or 7%. So you are paid completely out of debt in less than 5 years. And so one success story that I wanted to share that, we've been sharing recently was a gentleman. His name was Gabriel Grant. He was a Marine veteran. He got out of the service. Him and his wife were building a home. He had an injury at work. They went over building costs. They had racked up $25,000 in debt. And then, we all know the story. Can't make minimum payments. We're struggling. Everything else is sort of falling apart. So he came to us and he was able to pay off that debt. Less than 5 years, finish the home build, and they're on their way to financial freedom, whatever that means for them.
So encouraging.
I know.
That's a really encouraging story because you don't
it.
see that a lot, or you certainly don't hear about it. Because and I hope this doesn't offend at all. It reminds me of the commercials I see on TV, and they're like, "Hey, come to us. We're going to help you get your debt, but we're going to do all these things." And I know when they're being advertised that it doesn't feel right.
Yes.
You know what I mean? So it's like a real version of what you're seeing.
Yes.
That's what it reminds me of. And I hope that, again, I hope that's not offensive, but that's what it reminds me of.
It's a good description.
Yeah.
And I say a lot, we're, as a nonprofit, we're not out there doing huge commercials and things like that. A lot of the way our clients come to us is through our education and outreach. We have a podcast, word of mouth, things like that. And then partnering with organizations like the Warrior Alliance and others, things like this. That's really how folks are coming to us, largely.
All right, give me the most challenging but the most rewarding situations that you find yourself in.
So, you kind of touched on it. I would say one of the most challenging things is really just getting in front of the audiences that need the help the most.
We hear that so much from people on the show.
Yes.
Is like, I'm glad to be here because I'm hoping to open that door.
And what's interesting about it is, especially when you're talking about financial wellness, people have a tendency to say, I'm good, I'm fine. everything's great, right?
Well,
Right.
But that's a defense mechanism. You don't want people to know that you're struggling.
Right.
It doesn't matter what the topic.
Right.
Financial otherwise, but financial specifically because that's almost a cascade of negative coming
Yes.
following that.
So what we'll see happen is somebody will come to an education session, and a lot of times they'll be there because they're being made to be there, right? Their employer says they have to go, or some assistance program says they have to go, and they're doing the whole I'm good routine. And about 5 minutes into the session or the conversation, they'll start to perk up, and about 10 minutes, 20 minutes in, and then at the end of the session, they're like, can I get your number? Like, how can we call?
You see the head tilt. Like, she may be onto something.
Yeah, so I would say that's one of the biggest challenges. And then, the biggest reward really is just those success stories that I shared with you, like Gabriel, but also the moment that you can see that it clicks for somebody and they're like, oh my gosh, I can do this. Like, I can do this.
I want you to talk to someone like you're in that classroom setting. I assume it's a classroom setting or seminar setting. I want you to talk to someone that's on the other side of the radio right now that is going, maybe they're doing I'm fine
Yeah.
as they listen because they know good information comes from this show and from the Warrior Lights. Talk to them specifically about why they should work with y'all or find that relief.
Yeah. Well, so it's just like I said earlier. Most of us don't even have a budget-ish because we don't talk about this, right? It's not mandatory for us to talk about in many places. And if we don't come from homes where we have really financial savvy parents, or even parents that are comfortable enough to sit down and say, this is how much our lights are, this is why you can't have those shoes, whatever, then we don't typically do that until we have a life event, a divorce, a child, a job loss, something like that that's negative
Jarring.
in a lot of times.
Retiring from
Yeah.
the military
Yeah.
or getting out of the service.
Yes. And then we're like, I don't even know where to start. So what I would say is, first of all, you are so not alone. You're not even in the minority here. You're definitely in the majority. And you just got to take that first step and give us a call or go online and start the process. Because what happens is when you do that, and you can see where your money goes, and you can see a pathway to either getting out of debt or buying a home or all the things that you never thought you could do, you start to build this momentum, and then it's like, oh my gosh, what else can I do?
Moneymanagement.org is the website
Yep.
that you need to hit. WarriorAlliance.org, of course, can get you over there too. Moneymanagement.org. But hit that phone number just in case. You want to give the phone number?
Yes. So the phone number you can call.
You know what? Don't worry about it. We'll just go to the website. The phone
Okay.
number will be on the website.
Yeah, sorry, it's not right in front of me.
No, it's okay. No worries. But great website, moneymanagement.org.
And also, Tug, I didn't know if you know it, but she mentioned earlier a podcast. It's called Long Story Short, and you can look that up on all the different podcast platforms and YouTube and all that. And you do a great job on that podcast, Long Story Short. Give us a nutshell on what that's all about.
Oh my gosh, I love this podcast. Okay, so basically what we do on this podcast is try to, break that stigma that's associated with debt. Mm-hmm. It is so common. We all have it. Nobody wants to talk about it. And so that's the goal of the show. And so a lot of times we will talk to clients who've been able to, like Gabriel, pay off significant amounts of debt in a short period of time, and they tell their story. They talk about financial freedom. It's amazing. But we also talk to partners. We recently did an episode with our partner with FICO, the credit scoring organization.
Sure. Mm-hmm.
And so just really getting the word out about debt, financial wellness, and sort of how to manage your situation.
I listened to, go ahead.
Oh, I was just say the podcast is on the website too, right?
Yes.
Yeah,
Yeah,
so
you can
perfect.
link to it through moneymanagement.org. And I did that, and I listened to a couple of episodes. You do a great job on there. And folks, even if you're not in debt, it's an inspirational show because it'll keep you away from wanting to get into debt because you'll hear these stories and say, I don't want to even use a credit card ever again. You know?
Well, but I even think more importantly, you're looking for good, positive news, and it doesn't exist for the most part.
That's true.
Right.
And if you're looking for an inspirational story or an inspirational discussion about somebody overcoming, that's what you get.
And what's cool is that not only are these really feel-good stories, but these are folks just like you and me, really, and they get into debt in a myriad of different ways. And the one thing that everybody has in common is this working hard to get out, and then this freedom that comes with it. And then to hear what people do once they're out of debt and what financial freedom means to them. Like, I'm going on vacation, I'm building a house, I'm going to Disneyland. Like, it's amazing.
Like you won the Super Bowl.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Right.
You find out, if you get a budget and you stay off the credit cards, you find out that you have a lot more freedom.
Yes.
It is really.
Well,
Yes.
but that's what money is at the end of the day. Really, is freedom.
Right.
That's right.
Yeah.
And the more you can save, the more you're going to have.
Our buddy Kevin Kinney calls dollar bills coupons. Fun coupons.
Oh, I love that.
Kevin Kenny from the rock band Driving
Yeah.
and Crying,
Yeah.
legendary.
Yeah, all denominations of not just the dollar bills. It's not
Sure.
like that.
Yeah.
He loves the $100 bills the most.
Don't we all?
So tell us about your partnership with the Warrior Alliance, and how has that relationship helped you to serve more veterans and their families?
So this has been such a fulfilling and rewarding partnership. What we do with the Warrior Alliance is we act as a financial wellness partner for them. And so if folks come to the Warrior Alliance saying, hey, I need help with my money, my budget, my debt, then they are referred to us. So we'll send them to a counseling session, and oftentimes a counselor will reach back out and say, hey, thank you so much for this referral. We got this person on a debt management plan. What it has helped us do is reach more people. Another number that I wanted to share with you is that we served over 10,000 military-connected folks through this outreach program since we started, and much of that is done here locally. And we can't do that without partners like the Warrior Alliance. So it helps us spread the word, but it also helps us, more importantly, reach those people that maybe didn't know they needed help or that we couldn't reach before.
Yeah, it's interesting. I've always heard this, and you can tell me if you think it's true, but if you do a good job for somebody, they'll tell somebody else.
Yeah.
If you do a bad job, they'll tell 10 people.
Yes.
so we got to work harder because you're doing good work for people. That means the information trickles out a little slower. So we have to work on it. Just getting that information out to you, make sure you hit it. Moneymanagement.org is the website.
Yeah, also, if you just go to thewarrioralliance.org and sign up there, you might be coming there for assistance with finding better employment, or if you got any struggles with medical or legal
whatever.
issues or whatever. But then what happens with the Warrior Alliance is they'll analyze your whole situation. They'll get you with somebody who'll talk to you about a 360 vision for what you can do as a veteran, and that's where you might run into somebody like Tara, the Director of Enterprise Learning Money Management International. What message do you have for service members who are listening, who might be about to discharge from the military, or veterans who might be struggling with their financial management, or they have credit card problems? Talk to them right now about the key advice that you have.
The key advice that I would give is take that first step. And create that budget or that priority spending plan. It is amazing when we take a look at where we're spending our money, what we can then start to do with it, and then utilize every single available resource. Ask questions, go for help, ask for help. But once you can build that budget, allocate your money, start to save, then I think it becomes a lot easier to be able to manage those expenses that you weren't used to, that now you have to manage anew.
Credit cards. I know a lot of people get themselves in trouble in credit cards. I'll even give you a quick story. When I was dating my wife, she was in New York and I was stationed down in Jacksonville. We couldn't see each other because we couldn't afford to until we found that Discover card.
Yeah.
And then all of a sudden, it became much easier. We get out, or I get out of the Navy, and then we have this huge debt that we're, trying to pay down, and we ultimately did. And I remember us celebrating us paying that off. It was seemingly insurmountable. I remember having anxiety about it. I was like, oh my gosh, I'm going to pay this off. We were very, very young, not into our careers yet, and struggling to balance it all. And ultimately we did, which is great. Now we use credit cards very differently. We strategically use credit cards.
Sure.
What's your recommendation for people? Is it okay to strategically use them? Should you avoid them altogether?
Cut them up?
Yeah, you cut them. or what was it? Clark Howard that used to say you should put them in a freezer. Yes,
Yeah.
Put them in a box of ice or something.
That's right.
Freeze it so you can't get to
Right.
it.
Whatever it takes.
Yeah.
No, our advice really, is just manage the credit that you have, right? it is a tool that can help you get where you want to be. So if you, and keep in mind that if you don't use credit at all, then it's very hard for you to have a credit score. And we live in a society where people are looking at our credit and our credit score for so many different things.
Everything.
Yeah. So if you can use credit as a tool to help you get reward points, air
Which
miles.
is what we do.
Yeah.
To visit our son in college.
Yeah. And then you're paying it off each month when it cycles, not paying interest or fees. This is the win. This is the goal, And so if you can get yourself to a place where you're not carrying debt and you're able to strategically use credit in that way, then it's a win-win.
Yeah, I think the people fall, though, Scott, into traps, right? Because you're like, well, I've been doing so good. I'm just going to maybe spend a little more this time. And then you get in that
Yes.
cycle of not paying it off at the end of the month, which you have to do.
Right.
And then it's the trap. It's the snowball.
You really do have to pay it off at the end of the month.
You have to.
But what happens is you run into that month or two where you just... things got a little
Whatever
weird.
happened.
You had some auto repair and
Gotta
you can't
buy new
afford it.
tires.
Next thing you know, you're hitting that minimum payment for a few months in a row. You might
Snowballs.
miss a minimum payment and then you're in trouble and then you got to call Tara. But really, you should just call Tara before that and get a good plan going, right?
Right, because it's all about the budget, right? So if you have your budget and you're living within your means and using credit strategically within that budget, but still contributing to an emergency savings fund in case you need new tires or your AC breaks, then you're better positioned to be able to use that credit as a tool to help.
If somebody has a bunch of debt right now on a credit card, should they be looking for that zero interest deal where they're going to transfer it all to some other card for a minute before they see you? What do you think about that?
Sounds good. And everybody's situation is different, but there's a big risk there. And the big risk there is that you transfer this full balance to a 0% interest and you have the greatest intentions of paying it off. But then you've suddenly opened up this other line of credit where you were holding the revolving balance before, and you could get in a position where now you've got double the debt. So you got to be real careful.
Yeah, that seems like a tragic situation, but it happens a lot. So we know that. Moneymanagement.org is where you can find Tara and get the help you need. Tell us about yourself, though. What you into? What do you like to do? Tell us about the family. You mentioned a son earlier.
Yeah. So right now I have a son that is 16. He is a baseball fanatic, and so most of my free time is spent at the baseball park.
Know that feeling.
Yeah.
There you go.
Been there. Know that feeling.
But I love it.
Yeah,
I love it. Yep. And I know that it's not going to, be forever. And, even if he plays at a higher level, it's still not going to be forever. So I'm trying to enjoy every minute of it. I have a dog that I love to spend time with.
What kind of dog you got?
Oh, I have a pit bull.
Got to protect that money.
I do. She protects my money, but I got to tell you, this is our secret. She's a gentle giant.
Right.
But yeah, so I like to hike and walk and spend time with her. I love to read. Things like that.
Now, I know you're from upstate New York, right? But
Yep.
Do you and your son root for our Atlanta Braves down here?
We love how can we not love the
let's
Braves?
go. Thank you
Come
very
on.
much. Thank you very much.
You know what? You're welcome to stay. Come back anytime. Because if you would have said some other teams,
yeah.
then we might have had to ask you to come back another time. No, I kid. But no, it is great to watch the Braves play. So, what position does your son play?
He is a first baseman and a pitcher.
Okay, all right.
Yeah.
Got a big future ahead. Was the scariest day of your life the first time he left the driveway by himself? Because it was for me.
Oh my gosh. It is. Every single day is something you don't think about. They walk and then you're like, oh, good, I don't have to worry so much. And then, they drive and you're like, oh my gosh. So everything is new and a bigger concern.
The most scared I've ever been up to this, prior to and to this moment now. The most frightened I've ever been in my whole life is when my son backed out of the driveway by himself.
But I would imagine for you,
especially
Tara, that
here
it
in
might
Atlanta.
be a little scarier the first time he tries to get a bank account or a credit card.
Yeah.
I got to tell you,
Right.
I had this kid down at our local bank when he was about 7, and he opened an account. And he was so funny because they did a great job of like, I'm your personal banker and all this stuff. And so he's been making contributions since then.
Good
And
for
he's
him.
like, oh, I'll call the bank. I'll call my banker. I'm like, yeah,
There you go.
You
There
go.
you go. I love it.
Before we wrap up here, though, I know we talked about credit cards and all the things we're trying to do to get out of financial trouble. But what's one positive thing you would say to kids like your son out there who are listening about money? What's the positive thing they can do starting right now?
You know what? You can save. You can start to save. Even if it is $1 a week from your allowance, you can open an account, you can start to save. What you will see is that the more you save, the bigger that grows. And then if you can start to earn interest, it gets bigger and bigger and bigger. And it is never too early to start. You start to save now. And then build that over time. It is amazing how much you can accumulate.
Yeah, I wish I'd been in a mutual fund since I was 2 years old.
Yeah, no kidding. Or invested in Apple way back
Something
when.
like that.
Right.
Starbucks or Bitcoin or all of them maybe.
Or just the piggy jar.
Yeah, something.
Yeah.
Any of it. Tara, thank you so much. We appreciate the energy you brought and the passion that you have for helping people. And it's been a good show. It's been a good experience. I think a lot of good information. I hope you come back.
Oh, thank you so much for having me.
Thank you.